The next day arrives. It's a regular day in school so far. Hyuk sits in class, rotating his shoulder, as if it were bothering him. Tae Hyun approaches him, asking what's wrong. Hu tells him that he thinks he messed up his shoulder during the fight. That's what he says out loud. But he then writes on a piece of paper, "Tell everyone that I got hurt." He wants Tae Hyun to spread the word that he injured his shoulder. He's attempting to goad Tae Hyun into believing that he's more vulnerable than he is. He wants Tae Hyun to believe that his plan is working. Despite winning a 5-on-1, Hyuk still has to convince the enemy that he's not as strong as he actually is. He needs to lull them into a false sense of security, so that he can take advantage of them underestimating him. We then move to third year, class 10. Someone's phone goes off while he's taking a nap in class. Since the probation period is still active, there are no shuttles to use for things, so he complains, saying that it's troublesome not having any shuttles around. A nearby student wearing glasses and reading a book asks, "How can you be troubled when I'm fine with everything that's going on?" I guess he really doesn't care about his problems. That's when we're introduced to Royal Bodyguard Rank 11, No Song-il. He has a nose ring and feathered hair. The other student, wearing glasses, is Rank 8, Yu Yol-woo. This is where we start to get name introductions to characters. You see a little box that says Royal Bodyguard Rank 8, Yu Yol-woo. This is an effective way of remembering characters. After all, there are many, and they only carry normal names. They don't exactly stand out, especially if you don't speak Korean. They might run together at times. Some names are far more common than others. So if you can't remember everything, that's to be expected. That's what people like me are for. Remembering shit that really no one else has a reason to. Song-il brings up how the Royals lost a 5-1 fight. Yol-woo asks if he'll be up next, and if he wants some help. Song-il says that will be embarrassing. Well, prepare to be embarrassed, my man. Because, as Yol-woo reminds him, Hu just won a 5-on-1, but Song-il resents being compared to the second years. I guess he thinks he can take on 5 guys at once also. Why, I don't know. But then again, I'm sure a lot of us might have had that thought at one point or another. You can't. Or maybe you can. I don't know. I've seen people do it. But listen, I wouldn't recommend it. That's why I carry a blade. Never mind. Pay no attention to that. Suddenly, Song-il gets a text. It simply says, Tae Hyun. And he mulls over what it might mean with Yol-woo. And why it doesn't mention Jong-il-han. Yol-woo, though he looks like the calm type, proves otherwise. He tells Song-il to just take him somewhere and beat his ass. Song-il doesn't seem to have a problem with that. We then see Tae Hyun. He's at the school store. As he leaves, he's approached by a hostile Song-il. He tells Tae Hyun that he's got something to ask him, and to follow him. Tae Hyun doesn't seem to feel like he can refuse. Song-il takes him to the roof, where Do Jung-hoon is waiting. He doesn't stay, however. He leaves. He's the guy with the key to the rooftop, if you remember. He tells Song-il not to take things overboard and do what he was told. But he wasn't actually told to do anything. Tae Hyun looks nervous. Honestly, he always seems to. And with good cause. These guys are out of their damn minds. The fuck kind of high school is this? Anyways, Song-il grabs Tae Hyun's attention by saying, "You joined Kang-ho, didn't you?" Before he begins flicking Tae Hyun's head childishly. Tae Hyun tries to play dumb, but that just gets him kicked in the stomach. Then, he grabs Tae Hyun by the collar and begins to taunt him, asking if he's curious about how Kang-ho will react if he breaks Tae Hyun right there on the roof, questioning whether Hu is really on his side or just using him. Tae Hyun continues to play dumb. He doesn't exactly have a choice. And I'm not saying he is dumb, it's just he doesn't exactly gain anything by telling the truth. And that's when Song-il punches him right in the stitches. And then he tells Tae Hyun that he's only going to hit him in that spot, and kicks him again in the same spot while he's down. This is effective, mostly because Tae Hyun isn't the type to rip out his nose ring and throw him over the rooftop. Fortunately for him. Unfortunately, however, this means Tae Hyun will continue to get kicked. Ko Tae-hoon is down. As Song-il stands over him, his attention is suddenly drawn from behind. Lee Tae Hyun asks him what he's doing as he walks up from behind. Tae Hyun asks, "Are you beating him just because I sent you a text message with his name in it?" And follows up by asking when he told Song-il to beat on Tae-hoon. Song-il has no reply, and only looks confused and uneasy. We see that it's not just the underclassmen, but even people in his own year, who move carefully around Lee Tae Hyun. His sadistic nature, as well as his habit of going above and beyond for retaliation, paint a clear picture of why that is. He tells Song-il to leave. Song-il, surprised, hesitates. He repeats himself once more, and we see a glimpse of that face again. The hesitation is gone. Song-il hurries to the rooftop exit as Tae Hyun approaches Ko Tae-hoon. And this is where I say, Tae Hyun is a lot nicer than me, because if I have to fucking tell you twice, I'm not going to. I'll give an order once. But of course, I'm not a criminal, so none of that matters. Tae Hyun asks Tae-hoon if he's okay. Tae-hoon is clearly in pain as he's been kicked in the stitches, and Tae Hyun isn't stupid enough that he doesn't notice that. But I digress. Tae Hyun says that there's been a miscommunication, and offers his hand to help Tae-hoon up, even lighting a cigarette for him after. He's treating him kindly, which means he either has a plan or wants something from him. Tae-hoon smokes awkwardly as Tae Hyun begins to talk. He asks Tae-hoon how he'd like to take over, offering to make him the leader of second year class 2 since Hwang Sung-hwan is now expelled, telling him that the compensation is only 301, but it's better than nothing, which is definitely true. Tae-hoon reminds Tae Hyun that he's at the bottom rank, even below Jang Il-han. That's when Tae Hyun reminds him of who he's talking to, and says none of that matters, since what he says goes. Also true. But Tae-hoon is still hesitant. Then Lee Tae Hyun drops the act. He gives him the truth, asking him how it feels to be stomped out. Tae Hyun reminds Tae-hoon that he was on the other end of it not long ago, and asks him if it feels like shit. At this point, he probably has flashbacks of Jong-hoo bullying him, taking his money, making him get his lunch, stepping on his face. I hope you do remember it, and I hope that you know that you have to pay for that. But I once again digress. Tae-hoon has no response, and Tae Hyun continues telling him to return to his place, stating that Kang-hoo will be dealt with soon enough. Tae-hoon looks surprised, as always. In the stairwell, just beyond the rooftop, we see Song-il talking with Jung-hoon. Song-il is complaining about the situation, probably because he just got ran off, like a bitch, tail between his legs and everything. He'll never stand up to Lee Tae Hyun, so I don't know why he's complaining to Jung-hoon. But Jung-hoon tells him that the chairman is isolating Kang-hoo from the people who are supporting him. First with Park Han betraying him, and now with Ko Tae-hoon. Song-il thinks that he should just get it all done with at once, but Jung-hoon tells him that there's something he doesn't know, mirroring what Tae Hyun said to Hyun Sung not long ago. Song-il still isn't satisfied, but it doesn't matter in the slightest. He's the bottom rank of the royal bodyguards, so even though he's part of the top, he's still at the bottom. The real verse, some might say. Back to Tae Hyun and Tae-hoon. Tae Hyun asks Tae-hoon if he really believes that Kang-hoo can get rid of the group, and if he does believe that, then Song-il can just finish what he started. Tae Hyun then reminds Tae-hoon of his original character, stating that he knows he didn't join Hoo because he likes him. He tells Tae-hoon to think back to when he first started helping Kang-hoo. Tae-hoon then remembers waking up to Kang-hoo looking down at him while smoking. What Tae Hyun is saying is the truth. Tae-hoon joined Hoo because he was beaten by him. Tae Hyun continues by saying that it was probably because he was threatened that he joined up with Kang-hoo, and asks exactly what Hoo did for him, while reiterating that he can give him actual compensation. And truth be told, I suppose if it's between getting paid and getting your ass whipped every day, you might take money too. I know I would. Wait, no I wouldn't. That's why I didn't join a gang in high school. God knows there was plenty of opportunities. I shit you not, during math class, somebody actually tried to contract me to do a hit. And maybe if he hadn't asked me in front of the entire fucking class like I was a crash out dummy, I might have taken it, because $3,000 is a lot of money when you're in high school and don't particularly care about anyone's life. But again, I'm digressing. Don't pay attention to me. Pay attention to the story. Ko Tae-hoon then asks Tae Hyun what he wants him to do. It seems he came around to his side. But the truth is, he doesn't exactly have the option of saying, I'm not helping you here. He's not that bold, brave, or strong. He'll have to play the coy role for now, and we'll see his true character later. Or his lack of true character. Tae Hyun doesn't ask for much. He tells Tae Hyun to set up a match where Who will fight Song-il. He then tells Tae Hyun that he'll announce him as the head of Class 2 when the probation period is over. When Ko Tae Hyun arrives back in class, he tells Who that Royal Rank 11 No Song-il wants to fight. Hyuk is glad to hear that. He's eager to continue with his plans. He'll crush No Song-il and move on up the ranks, until he gets to Lee Tae Hyun, and crushes him as well. But will crushing him be enough? Is it enough to avenge the death of your brother by simply beating the man up? No. There needs to be more to it than that. But Hyuk has to be careful. Eagerness has ruined many men. Park Han gets a text. He goes off without saying a word. As he arrives to his destination, he finds Cho Hyun-sung enjoying his lunch. Hyun-sung is nice enough to offer Han some of his meal. What a guy. Han declines, but wonders what Hyun-sung is doing here. Hyun-sung mentions that he told Tae Hyun that Han didn't side with Kang-ho, and that it was a misunderstanding. He tells him that Tae Hyun understood and will take care of everything. As Hyun-sung opens up his lunch snack, he then asks, how is it that everyone is lying in the hospital, but you're here in school? Park Han is caught off guard, but he has a quick reply. He tells him that his rib is hurt. Hyun-sung seems to believe him. He takes him at his word and dismisses him. But he knows Park Han isn't telling the truth. It just doesn't matter at the moment, because neither is he. At the park, No Song-il prepares for his fight with Who, practicing his kicks as Yu Yo-woo enjoys a book on a nearby bench. He seems to like reading. Maybe he's trying to get used to incarceration. I hear that's one of the few things you can do in there. Read and work out. Song-il tells Yo-woo not to jump in. Yo-woo reassures him that he won't. He reiterates to Song-il that he isn't there for that reason. Just then, Yo-woo pulls out a phone. Yo-woo is there to record the fight. Song-il asks if Tae Hyun put him up to it. He tells him that he did. He wants to see how Kang-ho fights. Song-il dismisses the idea that Kang-ho is someone who is worth recording. He doesn't seem to understand that it's not the same as it was a year ago. But I guess you can't be mad at his confidence, right? Even if it's just a case of drastic overcompensation. I imagine being the worst of the best is probably going to create some kind of complex in a guy. But I guess we get a glimpse into why Song-il simply can't picture Kang-ho being more than he was before. He mentions that Kang-ho used to wipe his ass, and I hope he doesn't mean literally. That ain't gangsta. Kang-ho arrives with Ko Tae Hyun walking behind him. Dong-il taunts him by asking if he remembers him and once again bringing up the ass-wiping thing. Someone really needs to tell him to stop mentioning that. It's not as cool as he thinks. I don't know what the fuck kind of bullying goes on in Korea, but here in America, not what we would call street shit. Not something that goes down in the hood or the trailer park as far as I know. I've never seen it. Maybe shit has changed since I moved to the suburbs. I don't know. But my time in the hood, Nobody was walking around talking about, hey, that guy used to wipe my ass, and thinking people would, like, give him cool points for that. Probably raise our eyebrows and stay away from that dude from then on. But I digress. Hyuk says that he doesn't remember him, but that he will remember what kind of piece of shit he is from that point on. Kang Hyuk has chosen to take it literally. Song-il laughs and tells Yoo-woo to make sure to record everything as he charges in for an attack. Hyuk determines from Song-il's attack that news of his shoulder hasn't spread yet. Hyuk parries Song-il's attack, which catches him by surprise. But he doesn't let up. He continues to press the attack, until Hyuk attempts a grab, which is when Song-il slips back just in time. Song-il starts to run his mouth, which Hyuk finds annoying. And frankly, so do I. Not really for talking during a fight. Get down to business and get out of Dodge. Of course, I say that, and then I sit there gushing and drooling over every single year-long flashback that we get during these huge One Piece fights. I don't give a fuck how people feel about the pacing. We move to the rooftops of Tae Jin High School. Tae Hyun is in the middle of a conversation. He's telling the other person that he plans to find out who was working with Kang-hoo last year. Then they ask who knows of the plan. Tae Hyun says that Jung-hoon, Pao Young, and Han Sol are aware, and that Hyun Sung should have figured it out on his own by now. Then they ask why Tae Hyun is telling them. He says it's because they transferred into the school after last year's incident, meaning there's no way they could be involved. We're then introduced to Royal Bodyguard Rank 1, Lee Sai-woon, who looks a bit like someone's mafia-linked uncle. Sai-woon says that since he's not a suspect, that he should be informed of exactly what's going on. Tae Hyun agrees and begins to tell him.
Okay, so there's going to be a slight difference in audio with this set. About a few videos in, my wonderful fiance bought me a boom mic that I have now set up and am using for, more stable sound and less, like, you won't hear my thumb scraping across the webcam because I'm holding it now. Now that I have a real mic. So, shout out to my wonderful fiance. I love you, B, and I really appreciate it. And with that, let's move on.
As Tae Hyun begins to tell Se-woon what happened, we see a flashback of Kang-hoo. He's placed a letter into the school message box, which found itself into the hands of Lee Tae Hyun. The letter apparently detailed how the circle operated, how much they collected and distributed, but also that there was an extra category, a place where funds were sent to an unnamed source. As he continues to fill Se-woon in on the situation, Tae Hyun preps a cigarette for himself. He tells Se-woon that the royal bodyguards from ranks 2 to 11 were ranks 1 to 10 in the previous year. But once Se-woon transferred in, that was the change. He quickly rose to the top, as number 1 of the royal bodyguards. He isn't telling him this, but it's something you should know. In the second semester of last year, when Se-woon transferred in, he became rank 1 in the royals. The third-year students received a salary, but didn't participate in anything. That is, the previous year students. As second years, Tae Hyun didn't seem to take control of the third years. It seems like he has a bit of respect for upperclassmen and rank. With that in mind, he tells them that the details of the account are only known by the first 10 royals and the upper management. Se-woon asks what the extra category is. Tae Hyun tells him that it's someone that's watching their backs, but doesn't give him a name or any more information than that. Someone from the group gave Kang-hoo info on how they were operating. Only Tae Hyun and Se-woon are exempt from suspicion, since Se-woon wasn't there last year. And obviously, Tae Hyun wouldn't tell on himself. It wouldn't make any sense, since he already knows. Kang-hoo was beaten last year with the reason given being that he wouldn't share his test answers. But the reality is, it was related to this extra category.
They were trying to get information out of him, or at least Tae Hyun was. But who wouldn't break? He wouldn't give up who it was that he was working with. That person must have been important for him, since he gave up his life. However, because Kang-hoo died, or because he was hospitalized as far as they know, they were unable to find out who gave him the information. But now that he's back to take revenge, there's a second chance to find out just who it was that was feeding him the information. Se-woon asks why Tae Hyun called him. Tae Hyun tells him that Hyun-sung will make a move soon, but that he'd be too weak to do anything on his own. So he wants Se-woon to maneuver alongside him. I doubt that Hyun-sung will actually argue with what Tae Hyun said, seeing as how he was afraid to just take on Hyuk by himself. I'm sorry, who? As far as he knows. Tae Hyun states that there isn't much difference between him and Se-woon when it comes to fighting. He's expecting the person who moved along with Who to also move as soon as Se-woon betrays them, or at least makes it seem like that's what he's doing. Tae Hyun believes that whoever it is that's planning to betray them will most likely turn, since they know how strong Se-woon is, and that he may be able to challenge the chairman, believing that as long as he's behind them, perhaps Tae Hyun can be toppled with their joint forces. What Se-woon wants to know, however, is why exactly it is that Tae Hyun is having everyone play into Kang-hoo's plot. And Tae Hyun says that he wants Who to know what was going on, that he wants to lower his guard, so that way he can lower the guard of anyone else on his side as well. Meanwhile, Hyuk continues his fight with Song-il. As Hyuk attempts a kick, Song-il ducks under it and reaches down, grabbing Kang Hyuk's leg by the ankle and pulling it out from under him. He falls to the ground. Hyuk notices that Song-il changed tactics when he realized what was going on, that fighting him head-on wouldn't work. Song-il starts running his mouth. He says that someone with limited fighting experience like Kang-hoo won't be able to adapt to his irregularity, which sounds nice, but Hyuk isn't really interested in hearing it, because he already knows that Song-il is full of shit, and he's not talking to the person he thinks he's talking to. He's not his brother. He's more experienced in fighting than you. And if he's not, he's still good enough to beat your ass. So what the fuck are you running your mouth for? The fight isn't over. From the bench, Yo-woo also grows impatient, along with myself. He tells Song-il to hurry up because his phone battery is dying. Song-il says that he'll show Who the difference in their skills, and that Who will regret returning. Before he can really finish the sentence, he feels a sudden sting. He asks if it was a mosquito, and Hyuk tells him that it's not like an underling like him would understand. This enrages Song-il. Seems he has a bit of an ego, which is amazing for a guy at the bottom rank. But I suppose he's at the bottom rank of the top, so that makes him feel a little better. And as he tosses a punch, Hyuk grabs his wrist and slips behind him, following up by dislocating his shoulder.
너도 끝장내주겠어.
Yo-woo refuses to fight. He only came to record, but a fight really only needs a signature from one person to start. So he's going to have to fight whether he came to or not. Hyuk isn't letting this opportunity get away. He asks Tae Hyun, who's the guy in front of him. Tae Hyun tells him that his name is Yo-woo. His rank, number 8. No Song-il is still lying face down on the ground, groaning in pain. Hyuk stomps on his head before turning his attention back to Yo-woo. He tells Yo-woo that it doesn't matter what he wants. If he says they're fighting, then they're fighting. Yo-woo concedes, but asks to send a file first.
The recording of Kang-Hoo fighting is being sent to Tae Hyun. In the meantime, Yo-Woo begins asking Hoo questions. He asks him, why didn't he seem to be using his right shoulder? And then asks if that's why he's aiming for joints, as opposed to going hands up. Then he asks Hoo if he thinks he'll be okay fighting him in that condition. The file has finished sending. Yo-Woo takes off his glasses and sets them on the bench. His face has changed. Yo-Woo wants to fight. Back at Tae Jin High School, we see that Tae Hyun has received the file and is now watching the video of Kang-Hoo's fight with Sung-il. He calls Pal Young over to watch as well. He says that he'll have Yo-Woo come to the night studies to answer some questions. But that might be a problem. The sun is starting to set, and beneath the red sky, Yo-Woo and Hyuk face off. Hyuk notes that Yo-Woo has seen him fight, unlike the others. This could make the fight more difficult. Yo-Woo wonders if it's really Kang-Hoo in front of him. Shh. He asks himself how Hoo was able to keep his stance with an injured shoulder. Yo-Woo is more of a thinker than Sung-il, as well as the rest of the royal bodyguards who've come before him. Back on the rooftop of the school, we see Tae Hyun being approached by 3 people. Pal Young and Jung Hoon are escorting someone to see him. When the new guy approaches, he asks Tae Hyun why he called him. Tae Hyun asks him if he went to the same middle school as Kang-Hoo. He says that he did, and Tae Hyun asks if Hoo fought at all in middle school, to which he replies no, not at all. Then he follows up, asking about elementary school, but they weren't in the same school at that point, so he can get no answer. We then get an introduction to the new face, rank 6 in the Royal Bodyguards, Lee Jae-man. Tae Hyun says that if that's true, then Hoo became a pro at fighting in 1 year. He regards it as impossible. Pal Young says maybe he put his life on the line to fight. Tae Hyun says that isn't enough of a reason. He says that when Hoo was fighting Sung-il, he left his shoulder open, as if baiting Sung-il to attack him in that specific spot. He doesn't think Hoo could become good enough to pull off such tactics in only a year. Pal Young says that maybe his shoulder was just actually hurt. Tae Hyun says he'll reserve judgment on the shoulder issue. Tae Hyun then says that he wants information on anyone who might have gone to elementary school with Kang-Hoo. Send the word. This is one of the slight differences that tells you why Tae Hyun is at the top. He has a sharp mind, but he also has strong instincts. Dangerous traits when also combined with an antisocial personality disorder. Speaking from experience. Hyuk and Yo-Woo continue to fight. As Hyuk slips a kick, he moves in for a clothesline. He catches Yo-Woo and nearly knocks him over. But Yo-Woo has quick reflexes and handsprings back to his feet before hitting the ground. Springing back to his feet, he swings for the back of Hoo's head, but Hoo slips out of the way once again. Yo-Woo, having seen Hyuk fight, is quick to adapt. Kang Hyuk knows that he'll have to abandon his facade and use his shoulder, or he won't be able to win this fight. Yo-Woo earned his position. He won't be so easy to knock down. But he'll still be easier to knock down than 30 people. Tae Hyun observes the fight nervously. It seems like he's been nervous ever since Hyuk knocked him out in that incineration plant. Yo-Woo hesitates to act as Kang Hyuk stares him down. Back in school, Park Han-sol gets a text during night studies. She then asks if anyone in class knew Kang-Hoo during elementary school. For some damn reason, Seo Ye-ran answers, as if talking to Han-sol has ever gone well for her. She says she was in the same class as Hoo in the 5th grade, and Han-sol tells her to go to the rooftop after the first night study session. Ye-ran looks nervous, as she should. I don't even know why the hell she answered. I would have shut the fuck up. Park Han-sol seems like somebody I would stay away from. Actually, that's a complete lie. That's the exact type of girl I would chase in high school, like a fucking fool. Don't act like you're not the same. Every Saiyan loves an aggressive woman. Back to the fight. Hyuk springs forward at Yu Wu and slams a fist into his midsection, following up by grabbing him by the collar when he bends from the impact. Yu Wu tries to knock his arm aside, thinking his right hand grip will be weak. But to his absolute surprise, Hyuk's grip is too strong, and then he slams a knee into his face. At this point, Hyuk realizes he has Yu Wu right where he wants him. He throws a fist to knock him off balance. Yu Wu knows that he needs to regain his footing, but unfortunately, Kang Hyuk already has a leg up on him. Hyuk slams his foot down on Yu Wu's head. The blow is devastating. The fight is over. It appears that the first session of night studies has ended during the fight. On the school rooftop, Park Han-sol leads Seo-ye-ran to lead Tae Hyun. He tells her not to be scared. He just has a few questions he'd like to ask. No, she should be scared. This is weird. You're fucking high schoolers. Why are we meeting on the rooftop like I'm part of your organization? No, she should absolutely be scared. She shouldn't have even gone. But I guess living such a safe life has left her devoid of any sense of real danger and awareness of what to stay the fuck away from. I don't know. I grew up in a pretty dangerous place, so maybe I just don't understand why someone will walk into a situation like this willingly. But I know I wouldn't. And I hope you wouldn't either. And if you would, I'm telling you right now, don't. He asks if Kang-hoo was known to fight in elementary school. She suddenly remembers a time that she had to yell at a bully to stop hitting who was just allowing it to happen. She answers Tae Hyun, telling him no. This leaves him confused. When she asks if she can go, Tae Hyun says, "What was who like?" As if she didn't say anything just now. He didn't fight. What do you want? What more do you want out of her? Leave her alone. I hate this guy. Because I understand him. She tells him that he was the same as he is now. He studies hard, and he's quiet. Tae Hyun goes on to ask if anyone else from their elementary school is still around. But she tells him they went to school in another district, and she doesn't think anyone came from that area. He asks when who came to the area, and she tells him that who moved to the area in 6th grade, while she moved here in the 3rd year of middle school. He tells her that she can go. But as she walks down the hallway, she suddenly remembers. During grade school, as she watched who being beat up by the bully in the hallway, she sees him later on. He's beating the living shit out of that kid. She screams at him, asking him what he's doing. But he turns and looks at her and says, "I'm not who. See? I don't think this kid realizes that he's a twin." But yeah, I guess she knows now, based on the fact that you're beating up a kid 3 times your size, and your brother clearly wouldn't do that. But at this point, Ye-ran has just realized something very important. I think one of the interesting things in this chapter particularly is finding out that Hyuk was always this way. He didn't just start fighting because of something bad happened to him or because he's impoverished. No, he's just always been the kind of guy who, if he catches you messing with his brother, he's going to do something about it. And from there, you can see how that just ultimately leads to him being able to beat the crap out of 30 guys because his brother probably gets picked on a lot. And whilst that might not be the case in real life, this isn't fucking real life, and I shouldn't have to explain that to you. Yu Wu has been completely defeated. He's nowhere in sight, as Kang Hyuk and Tae Hyun split up after the fight. They make their way home. As they part, Hyuk notices that something seems off with Tae Hyun. He starts to wonder if Tae Hyun has gotten to Tae Hyun, like he has with Park Han. Hyuk asks Tae Hyun if he told people about his shoulder yet, and Tae Hyun tells him no. When he says he'll do it tomorrow, Hyuk tells him not to bother, since they're likely to notice on their own. as Tae Hyun walks off. Hyuk thinks that he'll need to keep an eye on him. Meanwhile, Tae Hyun continues to look over the video of Who fighting. The idea that Who could be this good at fighting after only 1 year simply isn't making any sense to him. Hal Young and Jung Hoon approach Tae Hyun to find out why he isn't coming down. He tells them that Kang Hoo's skills are seriously starting to bother him. Does he think that maybe he'll lose if he fights him head up? Hal Young asks if he thought of something, and Tae Hyun tells him to send rank 7 Do Hyung to fight with Kang Hoo. The two question his judgment, saying that Hyun Sung would be enough. But Tae Hyun wants to send Do Hyung for a specific purpose. He thinks that Do Hyung will be able to find out what it is they need to know. Do Hyung is in class for night studies. When he gets the video from Tae Hyun, he immediately notices that Who's shoulder isn't working. Seems he can work with that. The next day, just outside of school, Who is called out by Yaeron. She grabs him by the wrist and pulls him along, telling him to follow her. Who is surprised, and not far away, Park Han-sol is watching. When the two of them are alone, Yaeron tells Who that there's something you're not telling me. He doesn't understand, but then she says it. You're not Who, are you? She reminds him of when he was beating up the bully in their class back in grade school. He remembers as well. The girl from back then was So Yaeron. But he still continues to play dumb. Then she says it clearly, that he's Who's twin brother, Kang Hyuk, the second person to say his name during this undercover mission. She asks, what's he thinking? And where's Who? Will he tell her the truth? Can he tell her the truth? Out and about on the town, Jong-il is going about his business, and someone calls out to him. He wants to ask Jong-il a question, which is, where is Tae Jin High School? Jong-il informs him and reminisces about his own days of wearing a school uniform and attending classes. That youngster he just met? That was Lee Jong-woo. But that's not important right now. It will be in a few days, but that's another story. Literally. Jong-il is meeting up with his old school friend Jung-rae. Jung-rae has shown up to ask Jong-il about something. He offers Jong-il a cigarette as they sit, but Jong-il refuses. He's no longer a delinquent, so he tries not to engage in such bad habits. He tells Jung-rae to make it quick since he has class. And then Jung-rae mentions that Lee Tae-hyun from Taesan High School is asking about Kang Hyuk. Kang Hoo. They don't know Hyuk yet at Taesan High. Shh. My mistake. Jong-il is at a loss as to who that is. Jung-rae asks if he was the one who used to hang around with him and Tae Jin, meaning he knows Hyuk. Jong-il reminds him that Dokgo is Hyuk, not Who. Jung-rae thinks he was mistaken, assuming that they probably aren't brothers since they're the same age. Due to the circumstances, they never actually met Who. He didn't hang around with people like this, and Hyuk hung around them because he was one of them. He was also expelled from school. Jong-il questions Jung-rae, asking him why Tae Hyun is looking for Who at all. But Jung-rae doesn't know. He was annoyed that Tae Hyun is sending him orders to look for someone, especially through text. Jung-rae is a school leader himself, not some lackey. He's not even friends with Tae Hyun. He was going to ignore the whole thing if it was Hyuk. As Jung-rae walks off, Jong-il remembers that Kang Hoo was the name that Pyo Tae Jin was saying when they were having a talk with Tae Hyun after the fight. Or at least when Tae Jin was having a fight. I believe Jong-il was still pretending to be passed out. We then move over to the Pyo Tae Jin. He's taking a test, and it doesn't seem to be going his way. He then gets a call from Jong-il, telling him to meet him later that night. Meanwhile, Hyuk is joined by Yaeron in class. She's still trying to get more information out of him. She threatens to tell everyone who he really is. She's kind of annoying sometimes. But that's the nature of the game, I guess. Hyuk asks her if she's on Who's side. He tells her not to look surprised, since a lot of people are in the room. For some reason, she takes that to mean that she should move uncomfortably close to him. She continues asking him about who, but he says they'll talk about who later. He asks her not to go around telling people, and to help him out for who's sake. He tells her to just stay quiet and act like she doesn't know anything. She then asks that if he's Hyuk, shouldn't he know what Who was doing last year? But he doesn't. It seems Who didn't keep him in the loop. She says she'll tell him, but that it would be too dangerous to talk here. She tells him to call her after school. But unlucky for her, Park Han-sol also hears her say that. She goes and tells Tae Hyun that Ye-ran met with Who and had a talk. He says that he already put the call out for info, so he'll know something soon. And if Ye-ran lied about knowing anything, she's going to pay for it. Han-sol asks what that means, and he says it without hesitation. We're gonna have 10 guys run a train on her. Han-sol looks visibly shaken, and to be frank, so the fuck would I. What a thing for a high schooler to say. She asks what he plans to do about Kang-Hu, and Tae Hyun says that Hu has been allowed to run amok for too long. It seems like he has plans on finally doing something about it.
The fuck do you mean, what else? Anything else, nigga?
Tae Jin arrives to see Jong-il, completely ignoring the concept of coming by later and coming by right now instead. But he also says that Jong-il would be too busy working tonight to actually stop and talk, so I suppose it makes sense. Jong-il agrees and asks how Tae Jin is doing with his studies. He says that he isn't sure. He's studying to be a PC repairman, but it seems to be out of his realm of expertise. Tae Jin is a physical specimen, but not very bright. Sad to say. It's not a dig, it's just the truth. He asks Jong-il the same question, and the answer is the opposite. Jong-il is studying for the GED and is getting good marks in all his subjects. Jong-il was a normal student. Not exceptionally bright, but not stupid either. You'll find out more about him later, though. After that, they head to a nearby cafe. Jong-il asks Tae Jin about the time Lee Tae Hyun asked him if he knew Kang-Hu. Then Tae Jin refers to him as Hyuk. Jong-il asks if Hu and Hyuk are the same person. Hu and Hyuk. Ignore that. Jong-il asks if Hu and Hyuk are the same person. Tae Jin says he saw him with the name Kang-Hu on his school uniform, and assumed that was his real name. Jong-il can't make sense of things. Most people can at this point. No one ever considered the fact that there might be twins. Kinda wild, but I guess they aren't that common. I've known like 3 sets of twins, so I don't know. Maybe that's true. In any case, Tae Jin asked him, "What's up?" Jong-il tells Tae Jin that Jung Rae came by saying that Lee Tae Hyun was doing a background check on someone named Kang-Hu. They wanted to confirm if it was the same person as Hyuk. They're looking out for their friend's interest. Tae Jin asks why Lee Tae Hyun is doing a background check on Hyuk. Jong-il thinks that Tae Hyun may want to fight him after finding out that he's Dokgo. They decide that it would be best to tell everyone in the area not to give up any info about it. And then Tae Jin says they should go see Hyuk since it's been a while. You may not know this, but these two have a lot of pull in their district. Everyone there knows who they are. And as you'll find out later, what Jong-il says in that area goes. You might look at him and think, this soft little femboy? You'll find out soon enough. Over in the classroom, Tae Hyun gets a text. He relays the message to Hu. Rank number 7, Ma Do-hyun, wants to meet with him after school. Hyuk thinks that everything is going accordingly, and that he should be able to finish things within the week. And up on the rooftop, Tae Hyun is expecting Kang-Hu to have that very thought in his head. He plans to make his move now. We see Jong Il-han for the first time in a while. He's been called by Do Jung-hoon. Jung-hoon is asking him if something is going on, but Il-han has no idea what he's talking about. He then tells Il-han that Ko Tae-hoon will be promoted to the head of their class at the end of the probation period. It seems odd, since Il-han is ranked above him. So he wanted to ask if Il-han knew something. This puts the thought in Il-han's head that Tae-hoon may have betrayed him to Lee Tae-hyun to save his own skin. Like I said, Tae-hyun is making his move. And this is just another part of it. It's never simple with him. Always some manipulation, some game, some cruel act. He's the worst type of scumbag. One that fully embraces the fact that he is one, and doesn't try to change. Someone we could all become at any moment, given the chance. Tae Jin and Kim Jong-il make their way over to Tae High School in order to check in with Kang. School is out and the sky is dark. As Ma Do-hyung waits by the gate after school, Kang-hoo passes by with Tae Hyun and Jong-il-han following behind. They don't seem to notice Do-hyung, but he notices them.
Be goofy, why niggas playing with Berettas? I got shit to shoot forever. Come so motherfucking long that a ruler couldn't measure. Known for knocking niggas off, that's why they clicking up together. Murder season, nigga, y'all feel that change up in the weather. And I been touching badge, better get your shit together. Cause the year I'm falling off, nigga, it was 2000 and never. And I been a boy, shit, ever since I was a pup. These niggas just jumped off the porch last.
Ma Do-hyung approaches Kang-hoo and the others. He tells Tae Hyun and Jong-il-han to get lost while he takes care of Hoo. They're going to do this alone. Likely, they'll be going to the same park that they always seem to do things in. It's amazing that the cops haven't found out about this place by now. As Do-hyung talks, Kang-hoo is already taking off his glasses, preparing for the fight. It seems Hyuk is coming out right away this time. As Do-hyung reiterates to Tae Hyun and Il-han that they need to leave in a more aggressive tone, he puts his arm around Kang-hoo. We saw Ryu Suk-hee do this earlier. He tells Hoo to be cool and not act scared. Another guy who isn't able to read the situation has arrived. As they walk off, Il-han accuses Tae Hyun of selling him and Hoo out to get a better position in the circle. Tae Hyun tells him that he sucks at thinking, and this is true. Il-han is definitely a blockhead. Il-han doesn't seem to get it, but Tae Hyun says he'll explain it to him later. Just then, Tae Jin pulls up with Kim Jong-il. They notice Do-hyung walking with his arm around Hyuk. After arriving at their destination, Do-hyung stops to talk to Hyuk. As he lights a cigarette, he mentions that it's a bad habit of his to smoke before a fight. He says it bothers him if he can't finish a fight in the time it takes to finish a cigarette. Hyuk tells him that he isn't too smart if all he can think is to count before fighting. Do-hyung throws out a fake laugh, and then shouts at Kang-hoo, asking him where he got the balls to talk to him like that. His pants, you little bitch. Do-hyung tosses a hot piece of ash at Hoo. He dodges it, and then the entire cigarette follows, almost hitting his face. He dodges that as well. That's when he notices Do-hyung in his blind spot, aiming for a blow to his body. As it lands, Do-hyung notices that Hoo has actually blocked his punch. Hyuk remarks that Do-hyung fights dirty, but Do-hyung retorts that what's really dirty is losing. And as a guy who carries a knife, I completely agree. But I wouldn't do this next thing. Do-hyung then spits at Hoo's face. When he sways out of the way, Do-hyung strikes at a momentary opening, landing a left into Hoo's side and following up with a right to the other side of his midsection. He follows up with a kick as Hyuk begins to get annoyed. But while his leg is in the air, Hyuk ankle sweeps his standing leg. Do-hyung falls to the ground. But before Hyuk can follow up, Do-hyung grabs some dirt and tosses it at his face. Hyuk blocks it with his arm, but then Do-hyung follows up with a second handful of sand which nails Hyuk right in the face. As he loses his vision, Do-hyung's heel smacks right into Hyuk's face. Hyuk staggers, but doesn't fall over. You just kicked a man in the face while he was off guard and he didn't fall over. You should absolutely feel like a bitch. All that kick did was piss Hyuk off. That's when Tae Jin and Jong-il arrive on the scene. Hyuk is surprised to see them, as Do-hyung tells them to leave. But Tae Jin tells him that he's dead if they leave. Hyuk should have calmed down a bit after seeing them, they say. But that he hates people who fight dirty. Do-hyung says it's his job to deal with people like them. But he has to deal with Kang-hoo first. However, as he turns back to the fight, Hyuk has a very murderous look in his eyes.
We love Moriocho.
What you're looking at here is the difference between a $40 figure and a $10 figure. Yeah. It looks like Sanji and a guy cosplaying as Sanji. So it's up to you what you prefer, I suppose. Anyway, that was Dokgo Part 6. I hope you enjoyed the new editing and intro. It was a lot of fun and a little costly because my back hurts like hell. But I think the quality was improved in terms of the editing and the sound. So, hope it was worth it for anybody listening, and anybody who may listen in the future. So far, this has been, a fun little endeavor / project. Just something for me to work on to, I don't know, just to have something to do, really. It's kind of boring to just play video games and go to work all the time. So why not do something else? And here we are. On the topic of video games, though, I finished Spider-Man 2 this morning. And, it was almost a perfect game. Almost. It's just one little issue I have. What the fuck was that in-game outfit for Miles? That was like something you wear to a gym. He had on Adidas. Is that what we're doing out here now?